So good morning, Kal Kadosh. We're going to just continue with Daf Ayin Daled Amud Aleph. This is going to be 74A1. We asked the question yesterday, and this is where we finished off, where we said that why is it that we have Zorer, Borer, and Meraked? It's the exact same thing. They're all forms of separating. Even though Zorer is with the wind, Borer is with usually a utensil, your hand, Meraked is with a sieve. At the end of the day, it's the exact same thing. You're separating whether it's going to be bad from the good. So therefore, Abai and Rava, both of them said, anything which is in a Mishkan, and this is how we start today, even though there's something which is compared to it, it is still considered important. So ask the Gemara, kotesh. So why don't we consider also kotesh, right? Kotesh means that when they're going to grind the chitim, right, to take off the klipa, which means that they grind the kernels of the wheat in order to take off the peel. And that also was in the Mishkan. So if you're already going to tell me that it was in the Mishkan, so also bring this down and include it. So you're going to have an extra one. So Abai says, Sheken ani ochel pito v'lo kitcha. He says, you know why? He says, because it comes out that since there's an ani, that he eats the wheat without any type of kedisha before grinding it, which means that he will not take off the peel before grinding these wheats, by the wheat kernels. So therefore, even if it was in the Mishkan and it's an Av Melacha, it's not considered part of the Mishnah. They didn't separate it, but rather it's just considered dash. It's under threshing, which again, threshing is the same thing, taking off peels. So that was the answer of Abai. Rava says, no. Hamani, who is this? It's Rebbe. He says that there's going to be 40 minus 1. It means 40 melachot minus 1. Kotesh. Now, if you're going to tell me that Kotesh is also there, so then it's going to be 40. So because it's 40, and obviously we can't, so we couldn't consider Kotesh an Av Melacha on itself, but rather it's part of Dash. It's part of the threshing. So ask the Gemara, so he says, 1 second. So why don't you take off one of the borer ones, which is basically the Zoreh, Borer, and Meraked, and put in Kotesh? Meaning, what's going on? Why is it that you decided that it's much more important to have the ones of Borer, Zoreh, Kotesh, like these three, and Meraked, instead of having Kotesh? Kotesh is a form of grinding. Grinding is you're grinding it up, and Kotesh is you start it, and it takes off the peel. So too there. Right? Why over there do we learn 3, which is almost the same melacha, and to do a tochen, not only 1? Right? There's the dash, and that's it. So it says, you're right. It's much better just to answer the answer of Abaye. Basically, a poor person will eat it without it, and therefore, we didn't teach it as kotesh, as a separate of melacha, but it's actually under dash, and that's it. Okay? Now, this is going to be the sugya of borer. So we're going to learn a little bit of Ilchot Borer today. It says like this, if you had different types of food in front of you, Borer ve'ochel, Borer u'meniach, you could separate and eat, and you could separate and put for other people that they should eat. That's what it means, meniach. Meniach does not mean that you're leaving it over, but rather that for other people to eat. Ve'lo yivror, but you shouldn't separate. However, though, if you did separate, you're chayav chatat. So now, again, this is like an enigma, but it doesn't really make sense. First, it tells you you're allowed to separate and eat. You're allowed to separate and leave over for other people. You're not allowed to separate, and if you do separate, you're chayav chatat. So what's going on? Is it you're allowed to, not allowed to, chayav chatat? You're not allowed to separate. What's going on? So says the Gemara, my kamar, what does this mean? So Amarula says like this, hachi kamar, borer ve'ochel lebo bayom. You're allowed to be borer and to eat. You're allowed to separate and eat for the same day. There's no problem. Borer meniach lebo bayom. You're also allowed to separate and put for other people also for the same day without any problem. Okay? Makes sense also. He says, ulmachar lo yivror. You have to explain that the Braita is talking about that it cannot separate for tomorrow. And if I did separate for tomorrow, chayav chatat. I was transgressed a prohibition from the Torah, and therefore I have to bring a korban chatat. So now on this, we're going to ask the following question. So Matkif la Rav Chasta comes and he asks the following question: are you allowed to bake for the same day? Are you allowed to cook for the same day? Yeah, for sure not. So why all of a sudden now are you allowed to come and to start separating for the same day? Meaning, if you're not allowed to cook on Shabbat for the Shabbat, you're not allowed to bake for the Shabbat. So why are you allowed to separate for the Shabbat? What's the difference?
Maybe pre-cooked.
Which one?
Pre-cooked, maybe.
Oh, pre-cooked, there's no problem. This pre-cooked is not considered, meaning when you have something already cooked, means that the fact that you're continuing to cook this item is not considered cooking. And the reason why is because it's not considered a significant improvement because it's already cooked. You're warming something up. Just like, for example, maybe shul goy, you have the same concept. If you cook the food, a goy could warm it up in a microwave. There's no problem with bishul goy. You understand? Meaning that the goya could put it in the microwave for the children. There's no bishul goy there because it's already cooked. Here, though, the question is, where did we see such a concept that you're allowed to come, and because it's for Shabbat, mutali lechatchila la'asot b'zeh. Like I'm allowed to do it for sure, without any problem. Separating is separating, right? Again, that's the question that Rav Chasta is asking, and now he's going to give his answer. So, Ela Amar Rav Chasta, but rather Rav Chasta says, Borer ve'ochel pachot mikishiur, borer ve'meniach pachot mikishiur. You're right, everything's less than the shiur. You're allowed to separate less than the shiur of what's it called, of the chayuv of borer, okay, which is going to be less than a go get it. Or you're allowed to separate for somebody else also less than a shiur. Kashiur, you're not allowed to separate, like a shiur of a fig, okay? And if you did, chayav chatat, you're going to be chayav chatat. So Rav Yosef is going to ask on this a very simple question. Matkifla Rav Yosef, are you allowed to cook something or bake something which is less than the shiur? Imagine right now you have the prohibition of baking or cooking applies to a fig. Let's even just say an egg or a kizait, which are the ones that we usually use. Right? It's not like that. It's a fig. It's a go get it. But let's just pretend to make things easy. Yeah. Let's say it's a size of an egg. Am I allowed to come and now take an olive size, which is a kizait, or a little bit smaller and start cooking it lechatchila on Shabbat? Where do we hear such a thing? That I'm allowed to come and cook chetzi shiur? So Rav Yosef, because of this question, he's going to give his own explanation. Ela amar Rav Yosef, but rather Rav Yosef says, Borer ve'ochel bayad, borer umeniach bayad. Okay? You're supposed to separate, and this is how we're paskening halacha l'maaseh, you're supposed to separate and eat with your hands, and that's permitted. You're also allowed to separate and eat, right, or give to other people to eat with your hands, also permitted. Bekenon u'v'tamchui, remember, the kenon u'v'tamchui is like a type of a sieve. It's not really a sieve, because the sieve is the next one, which is nafa u'kvara, but the kenon is a kli etz, a wooden utensil, which is made like a tzinor, like a tube, okay, that it's very big on one side and very tsar on the other side. So it's a type of a sieve, but it's more like a funnel, I think they say in English, no? It's like something like this, like,
They said funnel.
Funnel, very good. Okay, so funnel. Uvtamchui, so tamchui is like a big plate, a large plate. Okay, the truth is, let me actually just check. Yeah, this is the knon and this is the tamchui. This is the knon and this is the tamchui. So this is where you're doing the separating, okay? And then on the bottom here is what we're going to see in 1 second, the nafa, which is a sieve, uchvara, which are there are also two types of sieves. So this is much more of a separating utensil than the top ones, okay? So it says over here, beknonu v'tamchui, so the top ones, which was again the funnel or the big plate, lo yivror, you shouldn't do borer. Vimbirer, but if you did do borer on these things, patur v'lasur. It's patur from a chatat, but it's asur midrabanan. However, the nafal kvara, which was the bottom two, which were those are the ones which are designated usually for separating, lo yivro, you're not allowed to do it. But if you did do it, chayav chatat, you're chayav chatat. So this is how we actually paskin halacha l'maaseh, which means you are allowed to separate food on Shabbat, right? But only with your hands, not with a utensil. If you do use a utensil, so it depends. If it's not a designated utensil, so it's the Rabbanan. If it's a designated utensil, it's doraita. Okay? So we're going to ask also a question on that. Matkif la Rav Amnuna comes and he asks, he says, 1 second. He says, did we ever speak about a knom v'tamchui? Nobody spoke about a knom v'tamchui. So says the Gemara, Elam Rav Huna comes and he says a fourth explanation. Borer ve'ochel ochel mitoch psolet. Right? Again, remember, this is halakha. You're supposed to separate good from bad. Ochel, the food, from the refuse, from the psolet. Borer meniach ochel mitoch psolet. You're also allowed to separate for other people. Right? Ochel mitoch psolet. Psolet mitoch ochel u'yivror. But you're not allowed to separate psolet from the ochel, meaning the bad from the good. And if you did, chayav chatat. So asks on this Abaye, which remember, Abaye, right, he's going to come now and he's going to ask the following question. Midi ochel psolet, ochel mitoch psolet tani? He says, 1 second, and where is it written, ochel from psolet? Meaning, what's happening is that each one of these rabbis are arguing with the other because at the end of the day, it's an ukimta. It's like I'm trying to plug something in, but where's it written in the words? You understand? Like it's missing the main words. Kanon v'tamchui. This sivet, where was it written? Now, where's it written, all these things? Even food from refuse or good from bad, where's it written? So because of that, comes Abaye, and Elamar Abaye comes and he says the fifth explanation, which is the last explanation, okay? And he says, Borer ve'ochel le'altar, uborer umeniach le'altar. You have to eat, right? You have to separate and eat immediately. So it's not only just good from bad, it's immediately. And borer umeniach le'altar. But you're not supposed to separate for later on in the day. I mean, it has to be immediately. It cannot be even for the same day, but later on. If you did do it for later on in the day, it's like you're doing it for otzar, for like you're doing it for like safekeeping it, for keeping it, watching over it, putting it in a granary or in a storage place. So therefore, you're going to be chayav chatat. So Amruak Rabbanan Kamed de Rava. So they said in front of Rava. V'amalu, and Rava said to the rabbis, Shapir Amar Nachmeni. Remember that Abaye was Bar Nachmeni, right? So Abaye, he said a very, very good thing. Okay? So basically what I think what's coming out is that according to the Maskanata Gemara, and that's what he's saying here, according to the Maskanata Gemara, it's only permitted with 3 different things, right? It says, number 1, it has to be ochel mitoch psolet, good from bad. Number 2, it has to be done with your hand. Number 3, it has to be done immediately. If it's missing 1 or 3, which means it's missing the good from the bad or it's missing the immediately, okay, you're chayav chatat. If you're missing the second one, which was with your hand, so then it's asur midrabanan, but if it's with the nafa ukfara, it's going to be chayav chatat. That is the shita of the Ramban and the Ritva. So basically what the Ramban and the Ritva are doing is, these different explanations that we brought in the Gemara, we had a question against them, but what they said was true. So therefore, even though we kept on saying different explanations, it comes out that we come to the Maskana of the Gemara, we need all the conditions in order to fulfill, to be permitted to do borer. And that's halakha l'maaseh nowadays. Nowadays, if you want to separate, right, you want to do borer on Shabbat, so you have to separate good from bad with your hand, or even sometimes a fork is permitted because it's an extension of your hand. It's not a utensil which is designated for separating, okay? And has to be done l'altar, immediate use. So that's halakha l'maaseh, how we paskin as well, okay? Next. Hayu lefanav shnei minei ochalim. But a person has in front of them 2 different types of foods, okay? Ubirer ve'achal, and you separated and you ate. Ubirer ve'ineach, and you separated and you put for other people as well. Ravashi matni patur, Rav Yomi Medifti matni chayav. So Ravashi says you're going to be patur, and Rav Yomi Medifti says you're going to be chayav. Now, what's the concept? Here we're talking about 2 different types of foods. So, right, since it's 2 different types of foods, it's not that you have good and bad. They're both types of foods. So Ravashi matni patur, Ravashi says you're going to be patur, vatani chayav. We said chayav. So he says, la kasha, it's not a question. If it's going to be beknom etamchui, it's going to be patur valasur. And it's going to be nafa ukfara, which is again the designated, the sieve and the strainer, I think it's called. So then that's the normal way of separating, and therefore you're going to be chayav chatat. Okay? Kiyata Rav Dimi, when Rav Dimi came from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, Amar, he said as follows: Shabbetad Rav Bevai Havai, right? It was the turn of Rav Bevai to be Mishamesh Talmidim on Shabbat. The cloud Rabbi Yami Ravasi and Rabbi Yami Ravasi were there. Shada Kamayu Kalkala the Pedi. So Rav Bevai put in front of them a basket full of fruits without separating the leaves from the fruits. So he didn't want to separate it, right? So he put everything there. right? And then by doing so, right, everything just fell out, and then you take whatever you want. So he didn't want to separate it. He just like threw it, everything came out of the basket, and now it's separated. By the way, you should know this is actually one of the halachot brought down in the Shmirat Shabbat Kilchata and other things as well. For example, let's say you didn't realize and you mixed up the cutlery going to the table. Yeah, and now you have a problem, because if you wanted to set the table, if you're going to do borer, you have to eat immediately. But you're setting the table at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning for the guests that are coming at 1 o'clock in the afternoon or 12 o'clock. So it's not immediately. So what do? So what you're allowed to do is you're allowed to take the cutlery and you throw it. And when you throw it, it disperses. When it disperses, now it's considered separate, and now you could actually take it and take each one and put it in its proper place. So that's what he did over here. He came, he took this basket full of fruits. He didn't separate the leaves from the fruits. So what did he do? He threw the basket with the fruits, and then the ochel comes becoming separated, and everyone takes whatever they want. But we didn't know was he held that even good from bad is considered a sur. But think about it. Here, if I'm going to take a fruit, the fruit is good. So why can't I take the fruit and leave there the leaves? That's taking good from bad. So I don't know, maybe he held that ochel mitoch psolet is still a sur also as well. Or maybe he did it, so he wanted to give it to them with ayn yafeh, which means kilu, to show them, listen, I've got an abundance of fruit, take whatever you want. If not, I could only take 1 or 2, 3, here it is. I'm not giving you a choice. By doing it in such a way, I'm giving you an abundance of fruit. So we don't know. Okay? Another sak. Chizkiah says, if you're going to take kitniot, which are like types of beans, from psolet shelaim, from their refuse, even if you're going to eat it immediately, chayav, you're going to be chayav chatat. Now the Gemara is going to ask why. You understand? Like, why is it if you're taking here the good, which are the tarmusim, from the bad, are you chayav? We always said taking good from bad is permitted. So lema kasava chizkiah, does chizkiah actually hold ochel mitoch psolet asur? That good from bad is asur? Answers the Gemara, no. Shane turmusim are different from other types of foods. Why are they different from other types of foods? Says Ayin Daled Amubet. The shalki leshiva zimne, because you have to cook it 7 times in order to sweeten it. Ilo shakli lemisrach, and if you don't cook it 7 times, it becomes rotten, right? Vekipsona mitoch ochel dami. So therefore, if you're not going to take away the good from the bad, and you're going to leave it mixed up, it's going to become even worse. So therefore, the turmusim themselves are considered psolet. They're considered bad as long as they're with the klipot, as long as they're with their refuse. So therefore, it's like you're taking out the psolet, taking out the bad stuff. Okay? And with that, we finish borer. Okay, that was the sugya of borer that we speak about. From that half an amud that we just did, or that amud that we just did, is all siman shin yutet of Shulchan Aruch on Hilchot Shabbat, to do with Hilchot borer. Okay? Next, tochen, grinding. Right, the 2 dots. Ayin Daled Amud Bet. Amar Rav Papa says, Haiman defarim silka. If somebody's going to come and he's going to start cutting leeks, right, to small little tiny pieces. So he starts chopping, small little tochen. Chayam mishum tochen. You're going to be chayam mishum tochen. Amar Rav Menashe, says Rav Menashe, Haiman de salit silte. Even if you're going to take a piece of wood and you're going to cut it to small little tiny pieces, right, in order to put it for the fire, also you're going to be chayam mishum tochen. So Rav Ashi says, no, if you're going to be makpid on the size, meaning when you're cutting a piece of wood and you're makpid on size, you're going to be chayam mishum mechatech. That's mechatech. You're cutting something, right? Like toilet paper, for example. If you're cutting something to size, right, or certain types of materials, you cut it to size, that's called mechatech. For example, I want foil, so I'm going to cut foil to size, or I want certain things. That's called mechatech. Mechatech means I'm cutting something to a certain size, and I'm makpid on the size. Okay, next. Halash ve'alfeh. You're going to knead or you're going to bake. So Amar Rav Papa says, Shavak tana didam bishul samanin dava mishkan benaka tofeh. Says 1 second. Why are we leaving bishul and grabbing ofeh? At the end of the day, it doesn't make sense. Remember, in the Mishkan, there were 2 different things, and that's what we're going to actually understand right now. Rav Riviat in the Lametet Melachot in English, he's got a beautiful sefer on English. He explains it very well, and it goes like this. In the Mishkan, there were two different processes. One of them was the bishul of the samamanim, which means they had to cook the different dyes, and then the dyes were used to color the tapestry, right? The yiriot mishkan. There was another thing which was for the lechem hapanim, which is basically they used to bake the breads for the lechem hapanim. The first 11 melachot, right? If you hold that it's mevashel, which is bishul, cooking, so then he's grabbing the concept of the bishul samamanim. If you say ofeh, which is baking, so then he's grabbing the sidura de pat, the order of how do you make bread. So the question that we're asking is, why is our Tana leaving over the bishul samamanim that was in the Mishkan and teaching us ofeh, right? Which ofeh was not in the Mishkan, it was in a technical, like in a side thing. The bishul of the ofeh, the afiyah, the baking of the lechem hapanim was not in the Mishkan in itself. It's something a side step. So answers the Gemara, Tana didan sidura de panakat. Our Tana is teaching us the order of how do you make bread. And therefore bread is ofeh, not mivashel. And therefore the first 11 milachot are all to do with how do you make bread. You first plow, you plant, you reap, right? You thresh, you winnow, you separate, you do the, how do you call it, minaked, you sieve, then you're going to lash, tochen, you're going to sieve, you're going to knead, and then you're going to bake. So there's 11 processes in between, okay? So Amar Ravacha bar Rav Avida, says Ravacha bar Rav Avida, Haiman deshada sikata latuna, if you're going to come and throw a peg inside of an oven, right, in order that it dries up. So it's very moist and you want it to dry up. You're cooking. Because at the end of the day, cooking doesn't only have to be in a food. It could be in a substance here, which means that you're taking a material and you're trying to make it dry. That's also called cooking. The same thing that, for example, if my suit gets wet and I put it beside a radiator on a Shabbat, right? Again, we're talking about in Israel where they have radiators. Or here I would put it by where there's heaters, wherever it is. So then it's chayav mishum mevashel. You're cooking the water which is inside the clothing, right? Why? That's cooking. It's a clothing. I'm not going to eat it. Doesn't matter. Cooking does not have to be in a food. Okay, so ask the Gemara pshita, obviously, right? Obviously, you're going to be chayav mishum cooking. So I would have thought to say no, that you're only trying to fix the utensil, and not that you want to cook. Kamashmalan comes to teach you demir parafe, that it becomes weakened and becomes softer, and then it becomes harder. Which means cooking applies in both ways. Cooking applies whether you're softening a product or you're making it harder. With an egg, when you cook an egg, you make it harder. When you cook a potato, right, or you cook rice or things like that, you make it softer. Cooking applies in both ways. Okay? So it's important to know that. Amar Rabba Baravuna, says Rabba Baravuna, Hayman dartach kufra, if you're going to heat up zefet, which is tar, you're going to be chayav also because of mivashel, because you heated up a metal, a utensil. So ask the Gemara pshita, obviously. So says the Gemara, no, I would have thought to say given the hadavat usha sins, right? I would have said that the zefet becomes hard again. The bishul didn't help because bishul makes it soft and then it becomes hard. It's like taking a liquid or taking something that was congealed. You cook it, it becomes softer, but then when you leave it again to become cold, it becomes harder again. So I would have thought that you're not going to be chayav mishum vashel, emelo. So Kamashmalan comes teach you that it is chayav mishum vashel. You are obligated because of cooking. So Amar Rava says, Hayman David Chavita. Yeah, somebody's going to make a chavita. Here, this is the case of the way I told you mechatech, where you're cutting the pieces to size, to measure. Okay? So now it says, what are we talking about?
Rav, if I cut the bread in slice, it's the same, no?
No, there's a difference because bread, usually you don't cut it 100% to size.
Okay.
10, meaning I'm saying you're not makpid, it has to be 3 centimeters or 3.2 centimeters each size of bread. Okay. You could cut small pieces, that's something else. You understand? You could cut large pieces, but it's not that you're taking a ruler and actually using it.
Okay.
True, that even using the ruler, there's a question with a baby bottle. You know, sometimes with a baby,
Yes.
you come and you try to make a certain amount. You have to put a certain amount of formula, a certain amount of this. So there's a big question, are you allowed to use that on Shabbat? Because there you're not cutting anything. So it's not mechatech, allowed to measure on Shabbat. So because there you're using the measuring, right? So there's a whole question of that. That's why sometimes they say that it's better not to do it exact, this and that, you know, like it's not to, but again, here you're doing it exact. I'm cutting it to exactly 3 centimeters. So that's mechatech. Okay? So here it says somebody, right? Ayman David Chavita, which means somebody that makes a chavita of earthenware. He makes a barrel, an earthenware barrel, right? He's going to be chayav because of 7 chataot, 7 avirot. Number 1, tochen, because you're taking the earth and you're grinding it. Number 2, borer, you're separating the stones from the earth. Number Gimel, arkada. Arkada is when you're going to sieve the dirt, right? Right after which was already miraked, what we said, sieving, right? Number 4, lisha. You have to knead it. You have to knead it together to make it with water. Number 5, michuk. Michuk is mimareach. Mimareach is smoothing. You remember that we smooth it out, right? The thing. Number 6, havara. You have to put on a fire, right? In order to cook this earthenware, to make it into a utensil. And number 7, bishul, right? Cooking. So it comes out, tanura, right? Now, when you make a tanur, right, which means that you make an oven made out of cheres, you're going to have 8. Because here in the 8th one, it's makeh bepatish. You're finishing off an object. So it's makeh bepatish. So it's 8 avirot or 7 avirot. When you come and you make something out of the earthenware. Amar Abaye says, Hayman davad chalta, if you're going to make a kaveret mikanim, kaveret is a beehive. No, here it says it's actually not a beehive. Kaveret sometimes is a beehive. Here it's saying it's made to sieve the wine.
It's a large round receptacle from reeds.
From reeds, okay. I translate usually the kaveret is that, but here it says it's used to sieve wine. I mean, they put wine in it to separate it. So it says you're going to be chayav 11 melachot. It's powerful. Okay, these are the ones. Number 1 and 2 is Ketzira v'Zriya. Right? What is Ketzira v'Zriya? Ketzira v'Zriya, there's a picture here, but it's not really 100% because it's over here. It's to do with, you're cutting it down, right? But you're reaping. But okay, let's see though. Okay? It says like this. It says, number 1 and 2 is Ketzira v'Zriya. You're reaping it and you're making a planting it. Remember, when you reap something, if it's going to grow back very quickly, you're chayav twice. For reaping, for cutting it down, and you're causing it to grow again. That's zriyah. So it's 2 melachot. Number 3, you're gathering it together. Was you reap, and then you gather everything together to one place. Number 4, you're separating. You're separating the good reeds from the bad reeds. Number 5, michuk, memachek again. You're smoothing it out. Number 6, you grind it. Number 7, you cut it to a certain size. Mechatech. Number 8, ansacha. What is this?
Setting up the rack.
The nisuch, which is you remember to do with the sewing, all those things, right? So you're setting it up to sew it together, or asiyat shne batim mininim. That's the next one also. You're putting the 2 reeds together. Ariga, the actual sewing in itself, that you're putting it inside. Number 11, makeh bepatish. If you're going to tofer right? So then it's going to become 13, because then you have tefillah and kshira. Okay, next. Okay. If you're going to shear the wool and you're going to whiten it. So Amar Yochanan says, Yochanan, if you're going to not stitch, but you're going to sew, right, the wool on the animal on Shabbat, meaning that you didn't take it off. You're doing it on the animal in itself. And then only afterwards do you cut it off. You have 3 chataot. 1 because of gozez, shearing. And 1 because of minapetz, because you're cleaning it out from the impurities. And 1 of them because of the sewing. Rav Kahana says, no, you're exempt completely. Why? אין דרך זיזה בכך, אין דרך מנפץ בכך, אין דרך צביעה בכך. He says the fact that you're doing it on the animal is not normal. And therefore, since it's not normal, it's not the way of the shearing, it's not the way of the taking out the impurities, and it's not the way of sewing. Says the Gemara below, it's not. But Tanya, we learned in a Braita, Mishmed Rav Nechemia, Nim Rav Nechemia, Shetof ba'izim, Tavu ba'izim. What happens if you clean the izim and you did it on the body of the izim, of the goats? Alma, Tviya gabe b'mashma, Tviya, so it comes out that if you're going to sew on the animal, that's considered sewing, right? You're going to weave or sewing. How does it translate it there?
Spun.
Spinning the wool.
Spinning.
Okay, spinning.
But Rav, there is a place in the Torah where they said the women, they were very clever and they were...
Yeah, 100%. This is what we're talking about. 100%. Right? No, but they were very clever to do it on their own. But we're not talking about that they were doing it on the animal.
Okay.
You understand? And that's what the Gemara is going to answer. Chokhmah yetira shani. This needs a chokhmah yetira, and therefore that's what we're quoting, what you just mentioned now. That it needs a special chokhmah, and therefore only women that had the special type of wisdom were able to do it on the animal in itself. Regular people, they don't do that. And therefore, right, if you do that, you're not chayav, because it's considered kilach hariyad. It's considered like backhandedly. Meaning, if you don't do a melacha in the normal manner, it's not doraita, and it's not doraita because it's not normal for you to do it that way. Okay, so you're right. There are people that do it that way. They were special women. They were able, but it's not normal. So for you and me to do that, it's patur. Why? It's not normal. Okay. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. This is a Tosefta. It says toleshet kanaf. If you're going to take off a notza, a feather, from the wing of a chicken which is alive, okay, from a bird which is alive, or, right, you come and you cut it, right, in order that you could put it inside of a pillow or whatever it is, you're going to take off, right, here it says the palomas, yeah, you're going to take off the feathers, okay, in order to put it inside, chayav shalosh chataot, you're going to be chayav 3 different chataot. Explains the Gemara, if you pluck off a feather, you're chayav because of shearing. So just like you shear wool, you're shearing off the feathers. You're taking off feathers, you're chayav mishum gozez. Kotem, if you cut it, you're chayav mishum mechatech. So you're chayav because of mechatech, because you're makpid of taking it off to make sure, right, that it's able to put it inside the pillow and it's not going to damage or not to... Memaret, right, which is basically, memaret, right, chayav mishum memachek. You're going to be chayav because of memachek. Okay? Okay, memachek again is like smoothing. Okay? Fine. Hakosher v'amatir. Right? So somebody's going to tie or untie. Shira b'mishkan hechahavai. He says, where is the tying in the mishkan? So Rava says, sheken koshrim v'yitodot ohalim. He says, this is what we tie, right, in the yitodot in the ohalim, which means we tie them to put them down in the ground. These are talking about the curtains, which used to cover the Mishkan. They used to go all the way to the bottom, and they used to cover the boards of the Mishkan. So at the bottom, they had to tie them down in order that the wind doesn't make it move or go away. So that's where you had tying in the Mishkan. Amalei Abaye says, Ha'u kosher amina latiru. Says, 1 second. When they made that kesher, they didn't make that kesher forever. They made that kesher, they made that knot in order to stay there for a little bit of time. Because remember, they used to travel with the Mishkan in the desert. So they used to tie it and then untie it, tie it, untie it. So therefore, it wasn't like what we're talking about nowadays, that you're doing kosher, that it's going to stay tied. So says the Gemara, Elam Rabbi, but rather Rabbi says, Sheken orgei yiriot shnifsika lahem ima koshrim ota. He says it's going to come out that there was another kesher, another knot, which was done forever, which is basically the orgei yiriot. When they used to come and they used to open up, they used to tie them together, and that was a knot that was always staying. That means they used to come and they used to tie together the knots or anything inside the actual knot, tying the curtains to the walls. But in the curtains itself, they used to tie it, and you used to try to leave it there forever. So therefore, it's going to be forever. So Amalei Rava says, Tiratz the kosher, that's only to make a knot. matir ma'ikalimim. What about to untying and undoing a knot? So if you're going to tell me that sometimes it happens that you have two knots, one beside each other. So sharicha v'katachad, so you're going to undo one and tie the other one. If you don't do that in front of the king of a human being, right? Because you see it, what, you're going to do that in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Which means for sure you're not going to do that, because you're never going to make, right, one kesher on top of another kesher. Okay, let's see if he has any picture here. Here's the kotmo, what we talk about, you're cutting the feather. Right, so you're cutting the feather. Here's the next one, morto, you're taking off the feathers, right, in order to have the pen. Right, and that's how they make for the kulmus, like they use for their pens, right? Here they used to tie it with the pegs on the bottom, so the curtains wouldn't come up. And this is what we're talking about. If you're talking about trei kitre bahadi adadi, two knots, one beside another. So we said that we never do that. Like for a king, we would never do that, but it looks bad. Okay? So if you're going to tell me, shari chad v'katachad, you're going to undo one and you're going to tie the other one, it's not normal to do that. Okay? So it says, so Ela Amar Rava, Rava says, Rabbi Lai, sons of Rabbi Lazai, Sheken tzadech chilazon kol shulim matir. You're right. Forget about the Mishkan part. We needed the chilazon for the usage of the Mishkan, right? To make the tchelet, right? The blue, the turquoise dye. So what happens is the ones that were catching the chilazon, right? Which is like this type of I don't know how you want to call it, if it's exactly like it's a small fish. Okay, so if the ones, they had to koshiru matir in order to to get the net. So that's this one over here. They had to make a net. So therefore they had to kosher matir the net. Okay?
But why you have to do it on Shabbat?
No. They don't have to do it on Shabbat, but they did it on the Mishkan. So anything that was done on the Mishkan, on Shabbat is an Av Melacha.
Got it.
Okay, so again, so kosher matir was not because they were tying the yiriyot, the curtain. No. Kosher matir was, since in the Mishkan they had to tie the nets in order to trap the chilazon. So too, nowadays there's kosher matir, and that was done forever. As I'm saying, they made a net. It wasn't just for 5 minutes. It wasn't to make and then untie it. It was done to make a net, to catch them. Okay? Next, atofer shtet tfilot. If you're going to sew 2 different sewings, you're going to be chayav. V'halo kaima. He says, one thing, if you do 2 sewings, it's not going to stay. It's not going to stick. It's going to, so why are you going to be chayav? You're right. If you put 2 sewings is nothing because it'll open up. But if you put 2 sewings and then you made a knot, then you're going to be chayav because of tofer. Right? Because then it's going to stay. If you're going to tear something in order to sew it up, does it exist? Tearing in the Mishkan. So answers the Gemara, Rabbi Rozer, both of them say, right? Ein Hamud Aleph, Sheken Yiriyah Shenafal Badarna, when you have a Yiriyah, that a Tolat came and it started making a hole, Horimba Vetofrimba. They tear it and then they sew it up, right? In order, because if not, then it looks because of the hole. So here it says, look, here you have the Tolat that made the hole inside. So what you do is you tear it open, right? And then you come and you sew it together over here. And by sewing it together, it's now closed. You don't recognize the hole of the tolat, of the worm that just made the hole in the yidiyot, right? Inside of these curtains. Okay? So with this, we finish today's daf.